When I was a baby, a ghost almost stole my soul. Story time. Come on in. Okay, so this is from my mother's point of view. She told me this information. I don't recall any of this. This is what she told me. So all the stories that I've told you so far is basically stuff that I've experienced or was around for it. This, I was there and it happened to me, but I don't recall it because I was too young to remember. So about a month ago, I was having a conversation with my mother, and I was telling her about the house that I currently live right now. I keep telling her I think there is a ghost in the house, but we're not going to talk about that in this story. All right, so this story, she's telling me, oh, when you were a baby, the house that she grew up in, which is my grandparents' house, she would take me there all the time to visit, like on holidays and stuff, right? And in this particular incident, she took me there. She said I was inside the house playing, and her mother, which is my grandmother, and her sister, my aunt, was outside. But they could hear me inside the house. They could hear me running from one end of the house to the other, back and forth, and running back and forth. And eventually, at some point, I stopped running, and it got quiet. You know what? I probably was about 2 years old. You know what toddlers, when they get quiet, they're up to no good, right? So it was a situation like that. She said, basically, I was running back and forth, and all of a sudden, I stopped running back and forth, and it just got quiet. And at the point where I stopped, I was in my grandmother's room. My grandmother, and my grandfather. I was stopped in their room. And it was a long pause. And then she started thinking to herself, like, what happened? What is she doing? She must be in there messing with something. Why she started running around. And then she said, I started crying. Out of nowhere, I started crying. So she ran to go see what happened to me. And I wouldn't stop crying. Wouldn't stop crying. And then she said her sister started laughing, and her mother started laughing. And she's like, why are you guys laughing? And her mother, my grandmother, said, nothing more than she's in that room and she saw my mother. So her grandmother said that, sorry, not my grandmother. My mother's mother told my mother that she must have seen the grandmother, which would have been my mother's grandmother and my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother died before I was born. So that's why they were laughing. So my grandmother was laughing because she said she's probably saw my mother in the room. Why she's crying like that. And my mother said for days, I eventually started getting sicker and sicker. I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't drink. I was so sick. She took me to the doctor. They couldn't help me. And this went on for a while. For at least almost 2 weeks. I was sick for 2 weeks. And she couldn't figure it out. She couldn't get me to eat. Nothing. And then finally one day when she went back to her hometown, because she didn't live there, she was only visiting, there was a neighbor lady who saw her and heard what was happening to me. And she sent a message to her like, listen, your baby is going to die if you don't do something soon. She said, whoever messed with her, whatever spirit messed with her is stealing her soul and they're going to take her. You have to do something to fix it. And apparently this neighbor lady told her of some herbs and stuff to give me a bath in every day. So my mother went and collected these herbs, bought them in the store, put it together, and she would give me a bath twice a day or so. And eventually I got better. But thankfully for that lady, if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't even be here to tell you this story today. And the weird thing is, all these years, this is the first time my mother told me this. This was a month ago. A month ago that she just told me. So you knew all my life that I almost got stolen by a spirit. You said nothing? But I guess she didn't want to say nothing because it was her grandmother. She said my grandmother was obsessed with, my great-grandmother was obsessed with me. And when I say she was obsessed with me, keep in mind, my great-grandmother died before I was born. Think about that. But anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you like and follow. Tell me what you think in the comments. And come back for the next story. See you then. Bye.